This is the plaintiff, Philip Teller. He says the defendant gave him a deposit on an apartment he was renting. And 10 days later, the woman calls him and says her kids changed their mind and don't want to live in that neighborhood anymore. She also stopped payment on the deposit check, which he is rightfully allowed to keep. He's suing for the $510 he's owed because it's the right thing to do. This is the defendant, Ann Behar. She says the plaintiff never told her the street the apartment is on is a notorious hangout for loud, aggressive, cross-dressing homosexuals who hang out all night. Even the cops laughed at her when she checked it out. He should have disclosed this, but didn't. She discovered it, changed her mind, and that's that. She's accused of making a check go boing, boing, boing.
Okay, Philip Teller, you are suing Ann Behar for $510, $500 of a check that she gave you that she stopped payment on, and $10 for the stop payment fee that you were charged by your bank. What happened?
I advertised an apartment in West Village at Greenwich and Christopher Street. It was a one-bedroom apartment. It was $2,295 a month. I had a showing on August 4th at about 6 p.m. Several people came to see the apartment. The defendant, her husband, her daughter, the daughter's boyfriend, all came to see the apartment.
How had you learned about the apartment?
I think it was Craigslist.
Okay, and who was the apartment for?
My daughter.
All right, and had she picked out where she wanted to live? How old's your daughter?
She's 22.
Okay.
She wanted to live in the village.
Okay, because it's a village. Okay, so go on.
Well, both the daughter and the boyfriend were recent graduates. Neither one had any income history in terms of work experience or salary. At that point, the defendant and her husband, who's a doctor, said that they would co-sign and were willing to co-sign. Okay. They were interested in taking the apartment. They wanted to know what was involved. This was August 4th. We were talking about September 1st occupancy. I told them at that point in time, if I have to withdraw the listing and I stop showing the apartment, I take a $500 deposit and I prepare the paperwork and we change the locks, we do the shape up, and the apartment would be ready for September 1 occupancy. At that point, I said she could come back in a few days when I'm showing again and give me a deposit at that time. She said no, she would like to come back immediately the next day and meet me at the premises. And she did come 9 o'clock the next morning. She brought me a check. I wrote out a receipt for her. I put my contact information on it and the time the lease would commence. And I made a duplicate copy of that receipt. I gave her the signed one. I have the duplicate.
May I see that? And may I see the signed one if you have it?
I don't have it.
Okay, so go on.
Okay, that was Thursday morning. Generally, I hold the check for like 72 hours or 3 days. I kept it on the weekend. Tuesday morning at about 8:45 on my way to work, I deposited the check at Citibank.
And that is on what day?
That would be August 10th.
Okay.
On the morning of August 11th, a full week after I took the deposit and pulled the listing off the market, she called and she said they decided they wanted to be in Brooklyn.
Did she mention to you that she had stopped payment? Because as it turns out, she stopped payment on the $500 check, correct?
No, she did not mention.
She did not mention it?
No.
So you first learned that she has stopped payment on the $500 check when?
Probably the 13th or the 14th because
When
I
you
got a
received
notice
correspondence
from
them.
Citibank.
And when did you stop payment on the check?
It must have been that same day after I spoke to him.
After you spoke to him?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me your side of this.
Well, a few days after we decided to take the apartment, a friend of my daughter's told her, "You don't want to live there. That is a terrible place to live. There's a huge crowd of very unsavory people that hang out there. They deal drugs. There are sexual things going on. They're
What do you mean by
aggressive, menacing group of people. You are going to hate living there."
What do you mean by sexual things going on? You mean because, what do you mean?
we went and did some research, and I found a couple of articles that actually about that very street that made it sound even worse than my daughter's friend. They're sexual things. I mean, I can't say if there are people actually having sex in public, but...
What do you mean when you're the one saying it? I don't know what you mean. What do you mean?
Well, I don't know because I've never been there at night, so, you know, I'm just assuming that there would be people there who would be interacting sexually. I don't really think I want to say anything more than that. But also, but even worse than that, a lot of drug dealing, a lot of aggressive behavior, very drunk, loud, menacing, unpleasant people.
Okay.
After we did the
What
research...
street is this on?
Christopher Street.
Okay.
After we did the research, we called the
But
precinct.
who's we? Your daughter's a grown woman at 22 who knew...
She called.
She knows the village. I mean, so what is it she thought
We
was going to
did
be the
not
village?
know
Nice,
this.
peaceful suburb?
No, she's lived in the city before, but not on a street that's, if you read the articles, you'll see what I mean. We had no idea that it was like that. The landlord said, it's loud. There are loud people here. Well, loud is not something that she's a stranger to. She lived practically on top of the Henry Hudson Parkway a few years ago. She said, oh, well, just we can close the windows, we can turn the air conditioning on.
Okay, what you've handed me was an article about Christopher Street Pier regarding gay and lesbian youth, a safe place for gay and lesbian youth to be.
Well, you have to read the whole article, and this is a second article as well. It's pretty
Okay, hold
clear
on.
what goes on there.
It refers to a quote by a longtime Christopher Street resident. The new police tactics are working and have decreased the noise and violence that we have endured for 30 years. The screamers, however, are still very much around when you're not around. I don't know what that means. The attitude used to be worldwide, anything goes on Christopher Street. You can do anything you want. Not anymore because of your presence. I'm very grateful. Oh, I guess she's talking to the police. I'm very grateful for all the deployment. Okay, so go on.
We called the police precinct. My daughter called the police precinct and spoke to a police officer. She said, well, where is this apartment that you're considering living in? My daughter told her the address, and she laughed. She said, you're going to see a lot of things on that street that you're not going to want to see. There's a lot of drug dealing. There's a lot of people urinating and defecating in public. And the clincher was that door, the entrance to your apartment, what would be your apartment, that's where they hang out. You're going to have to ask them to move every single time you go home at night.
So is the defendant allowed to flake out because sexual things are happening around the apartment building?
She should know about the area before she finds an apartment there.
And this area is pretty well known.
Yeah, a leaf is a leaf. Once you sign it, you should know what you're getting yourself into.
And final word.
Absolutely, and she's of age, so that's just the risk you take.
The 22-year-old is
Yeah,
of age.
she's-
Got your point. Going inside the courtroom.
If your daughter's been a New Yorker, I'm a little surprised that your daughter doesn't know what neighborhood she's looking to rent in. If this happens to be a neighborhood with a lot of bars in the area, with a lot of people congregating, and I mean, this is sort of the village is not an area to relax in. It never has been. You know, I'm reading in your answer to the complaint that there's a lot of transsexual behavior, and I think that's what you were trying to say, but trying to be polite about or something, that, you know, your daughter doesn't want to have to tell someone who's in drag in front of her apartment to leave, okay? You can have whatever feelings you want. Your daughter can have whatever feelings you want. That's her life, and if she doesn't want to have to ask somebody in drag or otherwise to go off of her stoop, I understand that. What I do not understand, it's not that I don't understand your decision as a mother or her decision as a tenant to say, heck no, I'm not going to live there. Okay, you have a right to decide what you want. All right? What I don't understand is why you stop payment on the check. Because if you have a verbal agreement with him that you're taking the apartment, all right, I also don't understand why he's not suing you for first month's rent. Because, by the way, you weren't able to rent it for the next month, right?
I wasn't.
You were not.
No, I rented it for the end of September.
For the end of the next month. So what I'm not understanding is why you think that that $500 goes back to you because you changed your mind. It's the best decision. Maybe for you, it's the best decision in the world to change your mind. You got to be master of your own destiny. But how do you figure there's no cost associated with making him take it off the market for 6 days?
I will tell you my rationale. We told him on August 11th we were no longer taking the apartment. Our experience from looking for apartments in New York, which we have some, is that once you advertise a place on Craigslist, it's a feeding frenzy. The place is gone in a day. I felt we'd given him plenty of time to re-rent the apartment, and the $500 would be a windfall for him. I didn't see that he would have any trouble renting the apartment.
What
I
if you
still
end
don't
up
see
being
why.
wrong and he did have trouble? Then do you understand how you might be liable?
No, not really.
Really? Okay, well then.
Because he
I don't
held
know.
the apartment for
Hand
1
over
week.
the lease. You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. Legally speaking, you are 100% wrong.
You want the lease I signed?
Yes, the lease that you actually signed.
What do you mean legally speaking I'm wrong? What's the point of law?
Because what do you think a deposit is?
To hold the apartment.
That's right, for free. So you get to hold the apartment, take it off the market, and then
For 1
it
week.
doesn't cost you anything. Then if you change your mind, then that money comes back. No, the default position on a deposit is that he's giving up something and you're giving up something in return. That's what a deposit is. You don't get to take deposits back unless something specific in your deposit contract says it is a fully refundable deposit. So if it doesn't say that, then the default position that a deposit is exactly what it sounds like, which is you're giving up something and he's giving up something. It's not he's giving up something and you're giving up nothing. But let's say that if, in fact, hey, look, the place got rented right away, it's a windfall for him. Okay, because there's two parts to any lawsuit. One of it is liability, and the second part are damages. Every plaintiff has an obligation to attempt to mitigate their damages by, and landlords in this particular case, attempting to re-rent. If he has mitigated it, yeah, then that $500 is a windfall. I don't see how you get it back, but the $500 would be a windfall. That's not what happened, because I've got the lease that shows me that he wasn't able to rent until the end of September. Technically speaking, he could sue you for those first 20 whatever days in September. He hasn't. Consider yourself lucky. $510, verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Well, so the defendant comes out here on the losing end of this case because a deposit is a deposit for a reason. Step in a little bit. What's your feeling coming out here?
Ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot believe he was unable to rent the apartment. He should have been able to rent it the next day.
Why? Why is that?
Because it's New York City. Because that's how apartments go in New York City.
Is it really?
It's my experience.
Should you have done your research about this address before you laid down your money?
I mean, it's a kind of a leading question. I suppose in the future I will always do my research. Maybe I was naive, but never in a million years did I think that I was going to find out bad about the neighborhood. New York, I do know New York City. I don't specifically know that street. I guess from now on I will do research.
All right. All right, right down this way. All right, let's see what the landlord has to say. Come on in here, step in. Did you withhold any information from her about this location?
I didn't withhold any information. It's obvious. I always tell people to come back in the evening to look at the neighborhood.
You told her to check it out at night?
And I have to say, my daughter lives in the building. She's a Dartmouth graduate. She and her friends go there. They never have any trouble. I've owned this building for 30 years. We've never had a break-in. We've never had an incident in the building.
Are you loud and aggressive and do sexual activity in the street?
Oh, that's my sister. What are you?
Harvey?
Okay, Kurt, the defendant in this case clearly has her reasons for canceling. But the fact is, whatever her reasons are, they may be compelling to her. Legally, they hold no weight. She is not allowed to cancel for any of the reasons that she stated in court. This was a non-refundable deposit. She can't get her money back. She made a mistake, and frankly, she has to move on.